It is my distinct pleasure to welcome my esteemed colleague and friend, Nate Chinen, the Director of Editorial Content at WBGO, who will be your host for this evening.
Thank you, John. I've got this one. I'll take this. Wow. Welcome, everyone. The last time I was in this room was February of 2020. And we were all a little tiny bit anxious, but we didn't know what was coming. And so it is such a pleasure to be back here with an audience. We've all been through a lot. And so I just want to welcome everyone to this space and to this moment. And so this is special for, I think, all of us, but I'm going to tell you why it's special for me. The American Pianists Awards has a classical component and a jazz component. The jazz component is known as the Cole Porter Fellowship. And back in 2011, at the invitation of Joel Harrison, who was then the president of the APA, I was on the jury of the awards and had the distinct honor and pleasure of sitting down with Danilo Perez and John Taylor and Jerry Allen and Al Pryor to deliberate on this incredible outpouring of musicianship. It was truly an honor, and it was an incredible learning experience. As someone who listens for a living, to be in the room with these extraordinary pianists and these very generous listeners, and to hear how they hear what I heard was a real privilege. But the other privilege was just to witness the incredible musicianship of the 5 finalists. I think there were 5. Are there always 5? So that year in 2011, the winner of the Cole Porter Fellowship was a gentleman named Aaron Deal. Because you are in this room, I think you have heard of him. And one of the other finalists was a young man named Emmett Cohen, who went on to win the fellowship in 2019. He's the most recent winner. And so when we talk about who makes it to this stage in this competition, we're talking about truly amazing artists, amazing pianists and amazing artists. And in my experience, also pretty incredible people. So that is what we're about. That's what's happening here tonight. I feel so fortunate to be here. I know you do too. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce Bonnie Barrett, the Director of Yamaha Artist Services. She's been an incredible partner with WBGO, thanks to, where's John? Thanks to her friendship with John Newcott and all of the work he's done developing this series. And so here is Bonnie.
Thank you, Nate, and welcome, everybody. It's such a pleasure and an honor to be here tonight with you. It's kind of a special night in so many ways, but this is our first public event in 2022. We've had throughout the pandemic 1 foot on the gas, 1 foot on the brakes. So I'm hoping that we're on the gas right now and we're going to keep accelerating. It's also our first catered event in more than 2 years. And I want to give a special shout out to our caterer, who, imagine what caterers had to go through. Randy Romash of Passionate Gourmet, and I don't know where she is, but I asked her to come out and say hello. Oh, there she is. Is she in the back? Anyway, we're delighted to have her back. We're delighted to have you back in person. And it's such a pleasure to welcome all of our friends from APA and WBGO. I'm particularly proud of these 2 relationships that Yamaha has. We have several Yamaha artists who are laureates of the American Pianist Association on both the classical side and the jazz side. And if I start going through the list, I know I'm going to miss a few, but it goes back to, I think, maybe one of the very first winners, Sarah Davis Buchner and Frederick Chu on the classical side. On the jazz side, oh my gosh, Dan Tepfer and Emmett Cohen and Jeremy Siskind, and I know I'm going to forget some. But in any case, in my career in the music business, I've been so privileged to travel the world to many of the best, allegedly best piano competitions in the world, Tchaikovsky and the Chopin in Warsaw and whatever. This competition, I think, is my absolute favorite. And the reason being is because you don't just pick one winner, you pick 5 winners, and you really are nurturing them over the course of their lifetime. And they all, each one of them, have the benefit of the nurturing that they get, the experiences that they get through this competition that they carry with them throughout their careers. So I applaud you for that, and I think we should give you a hand. I don't want to take up too much more time tonight, but I would be remiss and would probably be derelict in my Yamaha duties if I didn't tell you a little bit about this space, because I'm assuming that many of you have probably never been here before. We've been in this space for about 15 or so years, maybe a little longer. We do not sell any instruments here. We do not, there's no money that ever transacts here. We are really an artist studio. So on any day of the week, at any time of the day, you can walk in these doors and you will experience something different every day. It could be an artist rehearsing, recording, selecting an instrument that they're going to use for a recording session in a concert hall. We could be doing a press conference, any kind of media kind of opportunity that you can imagine. It changes every single day, and we're really, really privileged that Yamaha has devoted these resources, especially for artists and for our strategic partners. I'm really proud of the partnership that we've had, as John said, with WBGO for the past 7 or 8 years, 6, 7, I've lost track, and of how many amazing programs we've put together and the content that we've created. So again, it's a pleasure to welcome both WBGO and APA here for this very special evening to discover some of the most amazing talent that we're going to be privileged to hear for many years to come. And lastly, I would be very negligent in my duty if I didn't give a special shout out to this big black piano behind me. And this special instrument is it's a baby. It's only a few months old. It represents Yamaha's latest production of concert grand piano development, the new model CFX. There's only about 3 of them in the United States right now. This has only been here for a couple of months. And I believe this might be the 2nd or 3rd performance ever heard on this instrument. There are some design changes that happened since our last model, which came out about 12 years ago. We've been getting rave reviews about it. Everybody loves it. I hope you'll enjoy it. I look forward to hearing 5 different pianists play it. Everybody gets a different sound out of the instrument. So I'll be curious if you have any thoughts about you liked it, you hated it, you would do something different, please let me know. We always like feedback. I just would also ask you a little housekeeping thing for tonight. You're welcome to go back and have more wine, refreshments, whatever you need. Just please take your glasses up when you leave. That's all we ask. John mentioned keeping your cell phones silent. Bathrooms and whatnot are in the back. We are being recorded both for audio and video, so just bear that in mind. If you start coughing or sneezing or whatever, just slowly, quietly slip out the back door. And that's it. And thank you, Joel. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Nate. Thank you, John. Thank you to my staff, my wonderful staff. Shane Hoshino, our chief concert technician who makes these pianos sound amazing. Our studio engineer, Aaron Ross, who's going to make it all sound great on the audio and video recordings. my colleague Makia Matsumura, who is here, and our videographer, Rob Davidson, who makes everything look great. So, thank you so much, and I'm going to turn it back over to Nate. No, Peter, or to Peter? What?
Let's bring up Peter Mraz, who is the president and CEO of the American Pianist Association. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you, Bonnie, and thank you, Nate. Good evening, everybody. It's a great, great pleasure to be in New York, and it's a great pleasure to be here at Yamaha for what I understand is the first live catered event after the pandemic. So thank you, Bonnie, on behalf of all of us for being such a wonderful host and for looking after us today. When we first thought about coming to New York, the original idea for this event was to be a welcome reception to New York for APA board members and donors, who are joining us for the Dizzy's club event tomorrow night. And I think we have about 20 of them, more than 20 of them tonight. So welcome. This is for you. And I hope you have a wonderful trip to New York with the APA, and thank you so much for everything that you do for us. There is one very special thank you that needs to go out specifically to one person, and that is the presenting sponsor of the entire 2023 American Pianist Awards, and he is with us today, Mike Wells. Thank you so much. Mike. Yeah. Yeah. Mike is our past chairman and also the CEO of the REI Real Estate Services. It's great to have you with us today, and thank you so much for everything that you do for APA. When we talked to Bonnie about today, she came with this wonderful idea to combine our welcome reception with one of their regular events that they do with WBGO. And what a wonderful idea that was. So the reason why we are all here today is thanks to the wonderful matchmaking skills of Bonnie. So thanks to Bonnie again. So for those of you who are joining us from WBGO, welcome. There is so much that I would like to tell you about the American Pianist Association, but I think we are running out of time. But we do have a couple of flyers in the lobby, so please take a copy on your way out about the competition, but also about the key upcoming events as part of the 2023 awards coming up. One other person I really want to welcome as well is the phenomenal and one and only Dee Bridgewater, who is with us today as well. Dee will be the MC of our performances at Dizzy's Club tomorrow, and she's a dear, dear friend of APA, and we are very lucky to have her with us today. So thank you and welcome. And the last welcome that I want to say is to the 5 very special people that are with us today, and they are the 5 finalists of the 2023 American Pianist Awards. All of us at APA, if I can say, will do everything we can to help them be successful, not only in the competition but also beyond, because if they are successful in what they do, then we will know that we have done our job right. So thank you again for all of you. I hope you have a wonderful event and time with us. And now I think I need to hand it over to Nate. Okay.
Thank you, Peter. So please welcome to the stage Kaelin Cardello, our first pianist this evening. Hey, Kaelin. How's it going? Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I have to start, because WBGO is Newark Public Radio, the only place for me to start is with your hometown. You're from Teaneck, New Jersey.
I am.
And you came up not only engaging with the scene in Teaneck, but also with the Jazz House Kids program in Montclair. Tell me about your experience with these youth programs in New Jersey. How did that help you to find your way into this music?
Yeah, so Teaneck is very close to Montclair, New Jersey, where Jazz House is based out of, and that's actually where I met 2 of the other finalists for the competition, Isaiah and Esteban. And so, as well as doing that, I did some of the regional jazz band, the All-State Jazz Band, and I met many of the the Jersey gang from doing those things, like Bruce Williams and Mike Lee and all these musicians, Oscar Perez, musicians who helped me through most of my adolescent life. So
How old are you now?
I turned 22 on Saturday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
And so you're also a recent graduate of the program at William Patterson, is that
I
right?
am, yeah, as of last Wednesday.
Congratulations again.
Thank you. Thank you guys.
So it's pretty heavy program at William Patterson.
Very.
So you studied there with Bill Charlap?
Yeah, so Bill teaches a lot of the combos, and I studied privately with a couple different faculty members, Harold Mayburn, the late great Harold Mayburn.
Yeah.
After him, Michael Don, Jeffrey Keyser, Vincent Herring, Jeremy Pell. Like all of the faculty is really is like one of the best in the country, I believe.
Yeah.
At that school.
Did you feel that your experience with that mentorship, it sounds like it was pretty hands-on. Was there also a lot of contact with the New York scene? Were you going into New York City a lot?
Very much, yeah, because like, for example, Vincent Herring, before COVID, he had a session at Smoke Jazz Club every Monday. So all the William Patterson students would go and get to play and meet New York musicians, and that's how that started. And then some of the older students would play at Smalls and Mesro and Smoke as well, and all these clubs. So there was definitely a lot of it wasn't the most fun to have to pay the toll all the time,
Right.
But we got past that. So
Yeah. What are you going to play for us this evening?
I'm gonna play a classic Billy Strayhorn song entitled "Star-Crossed Lovers." I've been just thinking about that song recently, so.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kaelin. Kaelin Cardello, Billy Strayhorn, Star-Crossed Lovers. Beautiful. Our next pianist is Paul Cornish. Hey, Paul. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Paul, I have to start with a recording that you're on that we recently featured at WBGO. You're on Kalia Van Dever's album Regrowth.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Wonderful trombonist, Kalia Van Dever, and so this is a recent album credit of yours, and we've been featuring it, and so your name is out there.
Wow.
You're circulating. Do you feel like you're when you come to New York, because you live in Los Angeles, do you feel like the energy of the scene, or do you feel like you're a part of this, pulsing scene here?
Somewhat. I was fortunate that like a lot of the programs I did in high school and college, a lot of my friends are doing very well on this scene here. So every time I come here, it doesn't feel completely foreign. So yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned high school. So you grew up in Houston.
Yes, sir.
You went to the High School of Visual and Performing Arts,
Yes, sir.
which produced Jason Moran and Robert Glasper and Helen Sung and
Many others.
So I've been to HSPVA and talked to some of the students who were there at the time, and it was funny to think about like when you're if you're a teenage musician, you're in a band program, and then Jason Moran comes back and and his picture's on the wall. Was that your experience? Like, did you look at what Robert and Jason?
Absolutely, 1000%. And it's like as soon as you walk in, there's a Texas All-State jazz band list of people that made it, and you just see some of these names like Jason Moran, Robert Glasper, Walter Smith, like, and it's so you just see that every day. And of course I grew up listening to them, so it was very much it was very much in the air. The people that blazed the trail before us, and I'm very grateful to attempt to do half of what they did.
So when you look at that as a kid, is it psychologically, is it a thing where you say, oh well, that could be me, like this is a path that I can follow?
Absolutely. I think it definitely makes it feel tangible, that if I can put in the work like I did, they came from where I came from, and we're in the same program. It definitely makes it feel like it's doable.
I didn't mention James Francis, but he's another one. He's a Yamaha artist as well.
Yeah, my great friend. He was a year above me, so yeah, it was very encouraging and scary at the same time.
Yeah. So James came here to New York for college, but you went to Los Angeles. You went to the Thornton School at USC. And so how was your experience in LA, and how is your experience? Like, do you feel like that is a scene that's sort of supportive of what you do?
Yes and no.
How much time we got?
Right. No, yeah, it was a very scary thing to go out to LA, because of course we have this great lineage, especially from my high school, of musicians coming to New York and doing very well, and the older musicians kind of looking after the younger ones. Yeah, it's been a very interesting time in LA, I'm very grateful that I made that choice, because I feel like it kind of allowed me to kind of carve out my own niche, and yeah, it somehow brought me here. But
yeah. Well, I know everyone is like, please stop talking. We want to hear this man play. So what will you play for us today?
I'm going to play a piece by the late, great Jerry Allen entitled Unconditional Love.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Paul. Paul Cornish and the music of the late, great Jerry Allen. I want to take a quick moment to say one more thing about this competition, and hearing Jerry's music really sparks this. One thing, and I think Bonnie and Peter both alluded to this, and we have some APA board members in the room, so to all of you, this is not news. But to anyone else, one thing that is so special about this competition is that it's not just a moment where everyone gets together on one stage and plays their competitive number and that's it. There is a whole process. We are at the beginning of a basically year-long process where these musicians will be traveling to Indianapolis, where they will be engaging in educational programs and public performances and workshops. And then when it comes time for competition weekend, they'll play in a club for an audience, under real working conditions, as well as in the glare of the spotlight. And I have to say that the year that I was there in 2011, one of the parts of that competition was mentorship and performance with future NEA jazz master Dee Dee Bridgewater. And so I just want to say it's a real pleasure and privilege to welcome Dee Dee to this room tonight. And I have to say that, like the late Jerry Allen, like Danilo Perez, Dee Dee is someone whose stratospheric artistry is equaled by her warmth and humanity. And to see her working with these young musicians was really, really inspiring as well. So how about a hand for Dee Dee? And keep it going for this competition. And with that, I will welcome our next pianist, Esteban Castro. Esteban. Welcome.
Thank you.
So I was just talking about competition, and this is something you know a little bit about. You won the Montreux Jazz Piano Competition at age 13. And this was not a youth competition, right? Like, you were the youngest person ever to win that award. And the following year, you won the Jacksonville Jazz Piano Competition, and you've also won a bunch of classical competitions. So, how do you do it?
I would just say that I don't really approach it like a competition. I just try to make the best music I can, and I don't really expect anything because everybody's so great, and whatever happens, happens.
Where did you grow up, and what was your early training like?
Yeah, so I actually was born in Houston, Texas. I was kind of raised in New Jersey, but that's where I started playing piano. And my parents got me like a toy piano when I was 3 or something, and I would just play it a lot. So they got me a Baldwin upright when I was 4. They rented me one. I started getting piano lessons, and pretty soon after that, I started to kind of improvise. When I was like 5, probably not very good, probably sounded terrible, but eventually my music teacher at my school, who is a jazz musician, she was like, yeah, I can tell you love improvising, so why don't you try playing jazz? And I did.
So this was in New Jersey, or was it in Houston still?
This was actually before I moved to New Jersey. After I moved out of Houston, I lived in a suburb of Paris for a year.
Ah,
yeah.
Okay. What? So we've got Houston to Paris to Jersey. And where were you in New Jersey?
I lived in Secaucus, New Jersey for 2 years, and then Haworth, New Jersey for 4 years, and then Hackensack, New Jersey. And then I went to college.
All right. So I think your answer about, how you approach competition by effectively thinking about the music and the artistry and not thinking about competition. I mean, was that something that at age 13 you had to figure out, or did someone help you to get to that place? How did you get to that sort of Zen mindset?
I think it's just something I just think like the music always comes first. And, having grown up in like a classical background, I've, had already done a bunch of classical competitions that weren't as successful all the time. So it was just kind of a learning process from experience. And, as long as I'm prepared, I just want to let the music speak for itself, and whatever happens, happens.
So as a competition connoisseur, What are your thoughts about the APA and sort of your involvement in this particular event?
I think it's wonderful because, the other competitions that I've done have just been one day you play and then it's over. And this really feels like a family, and it's been great to, already get to interact with the other finalists. Some of them I knew beforehand. I think Kaelin already said, 3 of us kind of grew up together, but it's been really nice already to get to interact with the other finalists, with, the members of the board, the staff. So it really feels like a family. I think that's really the main thing for me. So it's been very welcoming. Yeah.
That's great to hear. What will you be playing this evening?
I'm going to play this Cole Porter tune from the musical Anything Goes called You're the Top.
All right. Fitting for this event. Thank you. Esteban Castro, thank you. Cole Porters, you're the top. Our next pianist is Thomas Linger. Welcome, Thomas. That's right, give him a hand. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. You know, when I walked in this room earlier today, you were sitting right here and you were kind of getting to know this piano. So Bonnie talked about how this piano is hot off the presses. And so because your sound was what I walked into, I'm curious to know like what you listen for when you're getting to know a piano. And in particular, what did you discover in the first moments that you were working with this one?
Oh, well, I was just fascinated by the beautiful resonance, not just the piano, but also in the room. And particularly the low end always fascinates me on a grand piano because I'm so used to playing the upright at home, and you cannot accomplish the same things down there.
So you're originally from North Carolina.
Yeah.
What town?
Waynesville.
Waynesville. And how big is Waynesville?
Not big. I don't actually know the number, but it's not big at all.
So you grew up there. I imagine there's not much of a jazz scene in
No,
Waynesville.
not at all.
You went to UNC, and there is a jazz program there.
Yeah, that
right?
was UNC Greensboro.
Greensboro,
And
okay.
They have a wonderful jazz studies program. It's maybe about 25 students at a time, so you really get a lot of one-on-one experience.
Yeah. Were there any particular instructors or mentors that had a big influence on you there?
Steve Haynes is the director. He's a bass player. He was wonderful to me. Chad Eby, saxophonist. John Salmon was my piano teacher. And Brandon Lee, a trumpeter, was there for a few years, and I got to learn from them, but also work with them later. So that was very influential to me.
Yeah, I have to ask about North Carolina because we've had a lot of New Jersey and Houston in the house tonight.
Yeah.
But when I think about jazz piano and North Carolina, two names pop into my head sort of involuntarily, and one, of course, is Thelonious Monk, who did not spend a lot of time in North Carolina, but
Right.
that's where he's from. And then the other is the late Frank Kimbrough, who was a dear friend to some of us in the room here. Frank spent more time in North Carolina and really, sort of a formative time there. And so I wondered what kind of experience you had with Frank. Did you ever interact with him?
Yeah, we spoke a little bit earlier, but I met him here in New York. I didn't meet him in North Carolina, but I reached out to him to have a private lesson, which we did, and he was very warm and generous, didn't charge me for the lesson, and just...
It sounds like Frank.
I'm very glad I got to meet him, yeah.
Yeah. So what is your approach? I asked this of Esteban. What is your approach to competition in general? Because shortly after you graduated from college, you won the American Piano Competition.
Yeah.
So I think that was, 2017?
That's
is that
correct,
right?
Yeah.
So you are also a veteran of this competitive experience. What's your mindset going into something like this?
I would echo what Esteban beautifully said earlier, that there really is no competition. It's really a very personal experience, playing and sharing music. So I just want to do the best that I can, which is the same as what I do every day I play music. So I'm just happy to be here and very thankful to the APA. So.
We are thankful that you're here. What will you be playing?
I'm going to play an original composition, and this is entitled Crystal Cave.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thomas Linger, thank you. Crystal Cave, original composition. So how are we all doing? Is everyone having a nice time? It's a lot of piano in one place. It's a beautiful thing. And sadly, this is our final pianist, but don't be sad because you're about to hear another wonderful competitor, although that's a weird word to use. Artist, how about that? Isaiah P. Thompson. Isaiah, welcome. So we've been talking about hometowns today, and you are from West Orange, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I swear, WBGO has no say in where these pianists are from, but it so happens that you're from West Orange, and you have, you came up with experience in Jazz House Kids in Montclair and the Jazz for Teens program at NJPAC.
Right.
So what was it like for you to be a part of this, these organizations that are committed to nurturing young jazz talent? What was your time like?
Sure. I think I feel like I kind of became more serious about music at a fairly earlier age. But I think when I found myself around the other students, I realized how not serious I was. I think I was always just I was interested in it, but when I joined things like a Jazz House Kids, like Jazz for Teens, like you mentioned, I saw how talented some of these students were, and I realized there was still a lot to learn, and still now. So yeah. Yeah.
Well, that feeling of like kind of sizing up, what's around you.
Sure.
How does that apply to this environment? And I say that knowing that you're friends with a couple of the fellow pianists here today.
Yeah. I mean, I've known a lot of them for a long period of time. It's funny. But I think that's the general rule in life, and you're doing something, you tend to see the same people over and over, and they keep you in check too, and I think that you learn from each other, and it's kind of a beautiful thing for sure.
I just mentioned Frank Kimbrough, and so you were at Juilliard. You must have had some experience with Frank.
Yeah.
And I was in the studio when you were recording this tribute to Frank.
Yeah.
I guess last year.
Yeah. I think I always said, like, I feel like we had the most, like, a real relationship. We had arguments times, and that's the truth.
Yeah.
We had arguments, but then we'd also, we'd take walks, and there was a lot of love in it too. And he taught me, he was one of the first people I felt like I had a real relationship with this person, where we spoke about real things and we spoke our minds. And he taught me a lot. Yeah.
There's such a special place for that kind of jazz mentor, right? Like
sure.
the person who has wisdom to share, but also wants to hear what you think,
right?
And then will tell you why you're wrong,
right? Yeah, well, we said, he was like the guidance counselor of the school. You go to him, you talk to him about things even outside of the music, which I think is sometimes even more important. Yeah.
So I think it was in 2017 that you were part of this Jazz at Lincoln Center program, Handful of Keys, that then an album came out, and it was right around that time that WBGO had you in the studio for a performance.
Right.
So you're no stranger to the WBGO audience.
Right.
But that was a while ago now. What have you been up to lately?
Just playing as much as possible. I think I graduated from school a few years ago, and I think trying to find your place, and especially during COVID, I'm sure a lot of people had experience. You graduate into, this is not an easy field, first of all, and then to graduate into COVID is not easy on top of that. So I think I've definitely been fortunate to find myself in spaces where I feel like I'm being challenged. And I'm just really thankful for that. That's really what's been going on.
Yeah. What will you be playing today?
I'm going to play something called Hobnob with Brother Bob. It's written by the great Buddy Montgomery.
Nice. All right. Thank you, Isaiah. Isaiah Thompson. Playing some Buddy Montgomery. Thank you. How about a hand for all 5 of our APA finalists? Incredible pianists, incredible musicians. Oh, here they are. Come on out, guys. Come on out. Isaiah, come back. Keep it going. Come on, come on. Round of applause. Guys, take a bow. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Thank you to Isaiah and Kaelin, Paul, Esteban. Who am I? Oh, yeah, Thomas. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I want to congratulate you, first of all, for being a part of this. I want to thank you for what you played and shared tonight, and I want to wish you the best of luck and have a great time with this journey. I'll add that if you don't already know, all of these fine musicians will be at Dizzy's Club tomorrow night in a program that will be hosted by a real pro, Dee Bridgewater. And so you'll have an opportunity to bask in this musicianship once again. Guys, thank you so much. And stay up here while I just make some acknowledgments. I just want to say thank you, of course, to Peter Mraz and Joel Harrison at the APA. I want to thank Bonnie Barrett and her team at Yamaha, and especially our audio engineer, Aaron Ross. Thank you to our videographer, Rob Davidson. And from WBGO, our president and CEO, Steve Williams, our chief content officer, Steven Smith, and especially, and of course, John Newcott, the man who makes it happen here at Yamaha with WBGO. Thank you to everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. My name is Nate Chinen. Keep listening, and yeah, the music will continue to carry you. Good night.